You can train all week, you can train structures every stoppage, you can even simulate pressure and rehearse chaos, but nothing absolutely prepares you for a game like we just witnessed. 40 seconds left on the clock, St Kilda was still behind, with 46 points to make up in the final break. The scoreboard told one story, but at Marvel, something far stranger and far more magical was about to unfold. By the time Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera slotted the winning goal after the siren, the crowd wasn't cheering, they stood there in shock. The Saints didn't just pull off the greatest final quarter comeback in AFL VFL history, they redefined what it is to believe. This wasn't just a win, this was a resurrection. Let's run that intro and break it down. The first three quarters were all the demons. Melbourne played like a side that would be auditioning for September, but they have been horrifically inconsistent. They had speed, they had shape, clean entries. Bailey Fritsch was putting on a marking clinic. Christian Petrarca was everywhere. Max Gawn was doing Max Gawn things. Even Xavier Lindsay popped up and finally kicked his first AFL major. At one point, Melbourne was scoring from 1 in every 2 forward entries. That's modern-day efficiency at its finest. Meanwhile, St Kilda looked like they'd forgotten how to move the ball forward. It was slow, it was hesitant, it was very lateral, and pretty much why they find themselves mid-table. It was as if they'd been stuck in molasses while the demons rolled around them. The scoreboard was brutal, and it made a 46-point deficit at 3 quarters. Then something happened. Ross Lyon pulled the lever, and it wasn't obvious at first. But although Nas will get a lot of the products, Max Hall is a beast. He stuck forward, and although it was anonymous for 3 quarters, came into the centre, and suddenly the Saints had a runner with a bit of bite. A link man between chaos and clearance. His impact was instant. 19 disposals, 6 clearances, and a willingness to go to the corridor when everyone else wanted to go safe. Hall's energy sparked something in this group. I believe they call it the belief. And the Saints began to surge. And that was 9 unanswered goals in a quarter. From the first bounce of the last term, St Kilda threw off the shackles. They stopped playing conservative. They started playing with intent. Mason Wood was presenting like it was 2020 again. Cooper Sharman smashing and using his body as a battering ram. And Jack Sinclair tackling, linking, hitting targets. And Nas, well, we'll get to him in a minute, but everything was building. Every goal seemed to chip away at Melbourne's belief. Every tackle lifted the Saints' spirits. And Melbourne, they were in freeze mode. For 29 minutes, they didn't score, couldn't lock the ball in the forward half. They were shell-shocked, outrun, outwilled, outplayed. And with 40 seconds to go, Saints down by 6. A long ball in, and like a ghost in the night, Nasiah flies over 2 defenders, sticks it, the crowd erupts. He walks in, scores level, but the twist hadn't finished. From the restart, Melbourne inexplicably fumbled. 7 players ghosted forward. The 6-6-6 rule was broken. Centre clearance free kick. Marshall, where was the defence? Again, Wanganeen-Milera found himself left alone, 40 metres out in space, after the siren. Cool as you like, bang, 96-90, history rewritten. Now, let's pause here, because not all footy magic is about match winners. This game had everything. The flying Viking, Alix Tauru, was getting monstered in defence in the second quarter, but turned it over, gave away a goal, and he looked rattled. He went on the bench. You could see Ross was giving him, that little pep talk. He comes back on, swings him forward, and then what happens? Takes a screamer, lines up, kicks truly, and every single player in the ground got around him. Shouts of Tauru ran around the ground, spine-tingling moment, and a real great moment for Alix Tauru. But the real talk will be Melbourne's collapse. Stunned, stagnant. This wasn't just a team conceding, this was a team unravelling. After being beaten by Carlton last week at their own game, for 3 quarters, Melbourne did look like Goodwin was telling the truth. They want to play modern-day football. Their foot skills have St Kilda chasing air. Fritsch was doing what he wanted. Gorn was taking marks. Chandler looked lively. Pickett was linking up, being a menace. But suddenly, once Saints downed the pressure, everything evaporated. They lost shape behind the ball. Centre clearance looked lost. Only Jack Viney really stood out. He was working frantically to try and hold this together. Most damningly, like we talked, the 6-6-6 rule was broken and the defence switched off. That's not a coaching lapse. That's a mentality player crisis lapse. The Demons controlled the first 90 minutes, and when it mattered, they lost all pressure, lost their heads, structurally broke down emotionally, made 2 huge egregious errors in the last 20 seconds. For a side that has won a premiership and is trying to redefine what they are, this is alarming. A lot of experience there. The Saints, they played without fear. They played with some clever tactical shifts. Hall and Tauru on the corridor. And Nas, the man, is a superstar. Keep him on the ball. What a player. We've seen flashes of his class. We've seen flashes of his skill. We've seen that sexy left boot of his. But the finish, the coolness, the calmness, he has stepped out of the shadows. And with another preseason, he's going to be one of the game's big superstars. He is electric, he is composed, he is cold-blooded, and he is an executioner. And the big question remains, can they re-sign him? South Australian clubs will call for him. The whole AFL will. If they can bring in TDK and keep Nas, they've got a bona fide match winner and a bona fide legend in the making of this football club. He is a heartbreaker in the making. Sometimes you watch football and it feels scripted, like the emotions were written in advance by a shitty little playwright. This wasn't one of those games, though. This was chaos. This was storybook stuff. The biggest final quarter comeback in history by a team that is often told it plays bland football. They were attacking at their best. A player kicking 2 goals in 40 seconds, a team going from heroes to zeros, and another team going from hopeless to heroic. That was inspired from St Kilda, and Melbourne, that is another loss that underpins how disappointing they have been this season. They've got a lot of talent, but they don't have that hard edge. So chat, was this the greatest finish you've ever seen? Should Wanganeen be locked into more rabbing? How much and for how long? And is this proof that Ross the boss has a little bit of magic when he needs to? Let me know in the comments. And if you like the video and you enjoy the content, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you a bit later on this evening for the Kickback Show. Till next time, I'm out.